Okay, we are live. I'm going to wait for a moment for people to come on in. Yeah. Just getting started, checking a couple settings really quick while we wait for people to show up. All right. Probably should have posted a reminder. I did make a post last week, but that was a week ago. A lot can happen in a week. That's okay. Get a couple things set up. Let me see. Okay. Da-da-da. Still checking some settings, making sure that audio is good, video is good. Also giving it a minute. I'm going to give it a couple minutes to let people come in and join us. Just a second, guys. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you may be. Really quick, just to make sure, is my audio okay? I'm going to do a couple of tests to make sure. But if somebody can let me know the audio's good, that would be awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. All right, going to give it another minute or two. Let some people trickle in. I know that this is kind of a weird hour of the day for some people, but wanted to come on anyways. I wanted to do a live stream because I love doing this with you guys. And we had one about a week and a half ago, and that was fun. So I want to do it again. Okay. All right. How's everybody's day going so far? Happy Good Friday, by the way. Hello, hello. Hi. I'm going to jump on in here in just a moment. This might be kind of a slow trickle because I made an announcement about this stream, but that was about a week ago. So maybe a lot of people forgot, which happens. But as people start coming in, we'll just get started. Hello, Holly. It's good to see you again, too. Hello, hello, guys. Okay. Making sure. All right, let's go ahead. We got 10 people in here so far, and I know more and more people will trickle in as we're rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and answer your guys' questions. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me on this lovely Friday. I was wondering, excuse me, I was wondering if you could touch on the feeling of needing to be perfect in a relationship. I think you mentioned it in your video about manifesting your SP. Feeling of needing to be perfect? If you can elaborate a little bit for that. Are you talking about like the common conception that we have that we need to be perfect in a relationship? If you can kind of elaborate a little bit more, that would be awesome. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand the question and make sure I'm not totally butchering what you're trying to ask. Oh, SB, that's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. Hell yes. Wonderful. Congrats on the job. Hello, Vanessa. Hello, Kit Kat. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. All right. Okay. Okay. Holly asked a question. I've been ghosted by someone who also friend zoned me. And this SP, I never met him personally. I also noticed that being friend zoned is a pattern for me. What should I do, especially to manifest SP? So yeah, I've mentioned it a few times in videos, but something that we're always wanting to be aware of is patterns. If something is showing up habitually in your life, if something is a pattern in your life, that's pointing to a belief, a subconscious belief or assumption that we have. So in this case, in your example, and what happened to you, Holly, it could be something along the lines of, I always get friend zoned. I always get, I'm never good enough to be in the relationship, sort of thing. So knowing that, you have a outline of what it is you want to change, right? So taking that assumption of you're always friend zone, that's the assumption that needs to be reconditioned. So I would focus on, building the concept of I am chosen, I am wanted, I am amazing girlfriend material, things like that. And really tap into that feeling of being wanted, being in first place, just things like that. But if we're noticing patterns, if we're noticing things are happening over and over again, that is pointing to a conception that we have about ourselves. It's pointing to a belief. So if it's something that we don't want, if it's something that limits us, goes without saying, we got to recondition that concept. Ariel, good question. How do sleep affirmations work? I use them and I just wonder how they are working for me. So the beauty of listening to sleep affirmations or listening to tape when we're sleeping is the subconscious mind never sleeps. The subconscious mind is always awake. So we want to take advantage of that window where the subconscious mind is open and receiving impressions, right? Without that resistance. So you can think of the conscious mind almost like a gatekeeper to the subconscious. And it's going to reject, it's the conscious mind that rejects any beliefs or concepts that don't line up with who we identify with or the normal concept of self. So the beauty of sleep affirmations is you're allowing those new impressions and those new beliefs to permeate the subconscious mind. The self-concept reprogramming video has been so helpful. Oh, that's wonderful to hear. Lots of birds before land. Excellent. Excellent. The kitty says hi. Oh my God, Ariel, congratulations. Congrats to you and SP. That is awesome. Yes. Thug Muffin, I love your username. That is an awesome name. I'm glad you enjoy the channel. Welcome. And awesome question. So basically, how to feel something if you've never felt it before. And that is a fantastic one. So, and it's one that happens quite often, right? Like, for example, how do we feel the state of wealth and abundance if we have pretty much always known, poverty or scraping by? Same thing with being married. If we've never been married, how are we supposed to know what that feels like? Well, you know, one thing that I could absolutely recommend is you can kind of play with an idea that you get from even outside sources, even like, for example, like music or movies or something that, you know, helps us to invoke feeling, helps us to invoke that, something that we might not have otherwise been able to tap into. The other suggestion that I have is just practice going deeper into meditation, practice going, because what you want to do is get under all of these identity layers, so to speak. You want to get underneath all these concepts that we built up about ourselves and tap into a place that is infinite. So the beauty of our imagination is there's no limitations. There is no limits to what we can imagine. So if you practice through the practice of, or through the medium of practice, meditation, and just going deeper into self, getting underneath all those layers of consciousness, you can get to a place, you can access a place that feels solidly like it feels like the real thing. It feels like the real thing. So, use whatever you have at your disposal that helps you tap into feeling. Like if you need to almost siphon that feeling from another source, like music, movies, books, etc. And then also just practice going deeper into the states of meditation, sats, what have you. Because again, like there is no limits to what we can imagine. We can go anywhere in our imagination, even if we haven't experienced it yet in the 3D. Is it possible to remove scars with law of assumption? Many people say I can't manifest perfect skin. Yeah, that's a lie. You can yes, you can manifest beautiful skin. 100%. I've done that. I've personally experienced that. So, yeah, don't listen to the haters. You can manifest literally anything, including physical changes. Nina, have you studied Carl Jung? I'm trying to dive deeper and read beyond Neville's works to understand the law even more. I'm wondering who else you can suggest I can study to round out my understanding. Yeah, absolutely. Carl Jung is fantastic. I mean, he's the godfather of modern day psychology. So, and understanding psychology and human behavior is obviously a huge aspect when it comes to the law of assumption. So, yeah, I would have absolutely dived into Carl, recommend him 1000%. And, obviously, Neville is not the only metaphysics teacher, esoteric teacher out there. Um, Joseph Murphy, Florence, I keep butchering her name, Florence Scovel Shin or Florence, I think it's Florence Scovel Shin. She was actually before Neville's time, but speaks a lot about the power of the subconscious mind. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to compile a list and put it in the description of this video when I'm done, because it is important to sort of round out. And through different teachers, you can learn different aspects. I mean, I know I'm very heavily Neville Goddard based, but he's not the only person I've studied, obviously. There are a lot of factors like feeling it real, not forcing our visualization and feelings, etc. Is there any certain way to know you're doing it correctly? So you'll know that you're doing it correctly because it will feel different. It will feel more natural. You'll start to notice a shift in how you're feeling. That is the gauge that we always want to be aware of. Like, how are we feeling? How are we responding to everyday circumstances? What are our thoughts doing? What is the inner dialogue doing? All of this is telling you in very clear terms, like where we are in consciousness, like what state we're dwelling in more often than not. So it's always going to be gauging how we're feeling and checking in with ourselves. And this is why I hammer on so much about it and why mental diet is so important, right? So, because that is just like the 3D, the feeling is feedback, like it's telling us where we are. And I do want to note really quick too on that topic, it may at first, when we're just getting into this, new practice, new feeling, it might not feel 1000% normal at first. And that's okay. That is okay. You can think of it like wearing a new pair of shoes. It's sort of like uncomfortable and feels weird at first. But the more that you walk in them, the more that you wear them, they begin to feel like a part of your body, you know? So I'd say always just paying attention and being aware of what are your thoughts, what are your reactions, what are the inner conversations, how are you feeling? That will let you know if you're doing it right or not. Florence Scovel Shin, thank you. I don't know why I always blank on her name. Hey, Missy, wondering about 3D delay versus wrong approach / no movement. Awesome question. Yeah, so a lot of people, and this is obviously where a lot of anxiety comes from, like how to know if we're on the bridge or if we're totally doing it wrong. And again, it points to how we are feeling. And you'll start to notice, again, at first, this is something that is new to us. Like it's going to not feel very familiar. So, this is where the persistence comes in. Just practice and, practice through a meditation, practice through, relaxing into that state. And the more that you do it, just like with anything else, just like learning how to ride a bike, just like learning a new language, learning a new instrument, it takes practice. But you'll note a change in how you feel. Like, and if you note that change internally, that's what you want to look for. You want to look to the inside. And this is also where faith comes in. This is also where it's important to remember that so we are so conditioned to look to the outside for movement. Practice trusting the process. Practice trusting the process. But yeah, you will get to a point where you know that it's coming. You'll get to a point where you are satisfied and know that it's coming. A lot of times, this is a really good question. A lot of times, in order to reduce resistance, I try to push my desire off the pedestal, put it on par with smaller desires. But it makes me not want it as much. Is that okay? Yes. Yes, that's fine. We actually want to get to a place where it's, yeah, you feel like a calmness about it, and that not wanting it as much is only us not obsessing and focusing so much on us not having it. So yeah, that's fine. that's that's normal. Yeah. Good question. Hello, Juan. Good to see you again. Oh, good question. Drop / persist. Uh, with certain things, when I feel the lack while manifesting, even after I planted the seed, I keep visualizing to get that feeling. Is that okay? Or is it absolutely necessary to drop it? So, and this is, yeah, a lot of people do get confused about the whole dropping the desire versus persistence. What we want to do is we want to persist until we feel that sense of sort of satisfaction or that sense of we don't like you'll get to a point where you don't need to keep visualizing. Like you'll it's almost like when you eat a bunch of food because you're really hungry and then you get stuffed and you're like, I'm good, I'm full, I don't need to eat anymore. It's kind of akin to that. So if you're not yet at that place where you're naturally going to want to drop it, then 100% persist. 100%. Good, I'm glad to help. Even I. Also, when I try to persist, I'm kind of obsessing with my manifestation, especially with SP. What should I do? So, if you notice that you're constantly having thoughts coming up throughout the day or becoming aware, like if you're reacting to the 3D, reacting to SP, anything like that, practice redirecting the focus. Practice turning your attention away from those thoughts of lack, from those feelings of lack, right? When we talk about persistence, yes, we want to continue practicing tapping into the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Yes. But if our mind is going to places of like obsession or desperation, lack, that's not we don't want to persist in that. Obviously. So practice redirecting, practice turning your focus to something else, just moving your attention away from that state. We do not want to persist in anything that is not what we desire. And it does take practice. Again, I'll say it 1,000 times. This takes practice. Okay, good question. Hi, Missy. Do we visualize on the morning and at night and go about our lives in between? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, we can pick any time that we want to utilize visualization or doing sats. But essentially, yeah, in between those moments where we are practicing sats, just go about your day. Just go about your day. Hmm. That's exactly it. Okay, so love. What I meant about being perfect, I mean, I noticed that I seem to feel if I don't work on every single limiting belief or have the perfect self-concept, I won't get my SP. Well, that in and of itself is a limiting belief. I mean, we're still having a human experience. I mean, there's going to be moments where you're going to feel sad, you're going to feel annoyed, you're going to feel, confused. That's normal. That's normal. Like we don't have to, you know, we don't have to condition. I won't get my person until I do this, 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 this. That is limiting us. That is a limiting belief. So that is something we absolutely want to say, wait a minute, why am I conditioning this? Why am I putting these, steps that I have to like I can't have my person until I'm perfect? No, that's no. Combat that. Combat that because that is in and of itself a limiting belief. John M. In what way should we perceive thoughts slash sensations in a meditation in order to enter nothingness? That is fantastic. The I am meditation, or as Neville called it, going fishing. That is essentially a technique that Neville talks about in his book, Your Faith is Your Fortune. And I forget which chapter it is. I always forget what chapter it is. It's chapter 8 or 22. I don't know. But there is a technique that he describes where you essentially are entering, or you're peeling back those conscious layers of identity, and you're going back to awareness, who we really are. You're going back to unconditioned consciousness. And yeah, so I would check out, what chapter is that? It's in his book, Your Faith is Your Fortune. And the chapter is called Fishing, where he talks about that technique. And essentially, in a nutshell, like, you meditate on just the phrase I am, and just focus on being. You cut out all the noise and just be. You are welcome. You are welcome. How to ignore limiting beliefs from dating coaches, like being out of someone's league. Ugh. We are taught so much. Oh man, so many limiting beliefs. It's unreal. And I mean, these are all things that through this practice we just learn to recondition those limiting beliefs, because most of us, the vast majority of us, grew up with these conceptions of dating, of money. I mean, you can name it. There's so many limiting beliefs out there. So really, when it comes to unlearning it is just that. Like, we need to start instead focusing on the opposite, focusing on what we do desire, focusing on that new concept of self. Like, you're not out of, like, being out of somebody's league, and like basically is saying that you're not good enough. So combat that with, no, I am absolutely good enough. I am in this person's league. And acknowledging that we've picked up a lot of habits and concepts and beliefs along the way that are garbage, you know? So unfortunately, this is something that virtually everybody has grown up in this world where, whether it's by parents or teachers, we've learned a lot of things that don't serve us, that limit us. And the whole point of this practice is to begin to undo all of that. I'll have a good day at work. Thank you for joining. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Hi, guys. Hey. Yes, Giddy, good point. So Giddy says, I want to add to the question that someone asked about they have to be perfect to manifest. Doesn't the dominant belief reflect out? So you don't have to fully change your subconscious mind. So yeah, okay, it is true that we're always moving in and out of different states. We're always shifting to different states of consciousness. So we're never just going to be in a state of sad or always in a state of joy. There's going to be moments where we feel a variety of things. But we do, yes, the state that we are in more often than not is what's going to determine our experience. So yeah, we just want to be mindful of where are we more often than not. That's it. So no, we do not have to be perfect, whatever perfect means. Wonderful, John. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. This community is amazing, Juan. Absolutely. I love all y'all. Great questions. Great questions. The SP himself thinks he is the bomb, too, which makes me wonder how he thinks about me. But I guess my insecurities are mirrored. So, what they think about you is what you assume they think about you. Like, it is always a mirror, 100%. And so, always keep that in the forefront of your mind. What are they thinking about me? That it's whatever I'm assuming. You mentioned in one video about addressing limiting beliefs. Isn't that identity that has those limiting beliefs a state too? Isn't it better to directly detach and shift into a desired new state? Yeah, yeah, that's ultimately what we are aiming for. The last piece of this puzzle, I guess, the last part of this, according to Neville talked about this in his fundamentals radio lecture. He broke it down into essentially three steps. You know, self-observation, defining your aim, and the lastly, detachment. And by detachment, we want to detach from that former self. We want to detach from that previous state of consciousness, where all of the limiting beliefs, that encompassed all our limiting beliefs. Yeah, we want to detach from that. Yeah, double-mindedness is, yeah. Yeah, I know that is a frustrating and very real thing. Ta-da. Is it okay if we think of him in a good way 24/7? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can still, if we're manifesting a specific person, we can still have thoughts about that person. Absolutely. Just think about it like this. If you now stepped into that reality, stepped into that state where the two of you are dating and happy together, everything's wonderful, what would your thoughts be from that state? I mean, you'd still be thinking about him, right? Like, it's not that you wouldn't ever think about him. You'd think about him all the time as you love him. It's the context of our thoughts. That's all. Exactly. 100%, that's fine. Hello from Germany. Hello. Hello. Hi, Missy. What are your morning rituals? Good question. Good question. Every morning, when I wake up, I spend an hour in meditation. I that is a must for me. Like, when I'm first sort of, just just coming to, I guess, waking up, like the first thing I'll do is sort of before getting out of bed, I will meditate for an hour. And after that, like I'm setting the tone for my day, essentially. I'm setting the tone, and I'm more often than not, like 98% of the time, it's meditation in a state of gratitude. It's a state of giving thanks for things not yet seen, but ultimately blessings that I will receive. And it's empowering. It's really empowering. So that's a must for me. That's a must for me. It's like it's become so ritualistic that my body will naturally just start to do it on its own subconsciously. But after that, getting up, I just like anybody else, I get up, I shower, I get breakfast started, but that really does set the tone for my day. 100%. Do you have any tips on how to deal with feeling overwhelmed with too many things to do in a day? When you say too many things, are you talking about just like a to-do list, like too many errands to run or things to, or are you talking specifically about like manifestation techniques? Because I certainly know that feeling. When I was very new with all of this, I would just try to fit as many techniques as I could in a day. And yeah, that gets exhausting. And I mean, I guess that's kind of one and the same. If you're feeling overwhelmed and like there's too many things to do, like specifically relating to techniques, I would, consolidate. I would just say, okay, I don't need, it's not the quantity of the techniques, it's the quality, right? So even if I'm only doing 20 minutes a day of sats or meditation, as long as I'm getting like something good from it, as long as it's helping me tap into that feeling, then that's it. That's all we need. So it's not the amount of techniques. It's not we don't need to fill our day with it. It's the quality of that time that you're using. So yeah, I'd say consolidate. Whichever technique best helps you to tap into that feeling and tap into that state, use that one. And for the rest of them, I mean, you can put them on the back burner. You can use, if you have extra time and you want to do additional things, that's cool. You can do that. But we don't want this to feel like there's a bunch of chores to do or there's a bunch of work to do, because that's a one-way ticket to burnout. So consolidate. It's quality over quantity any day. Have I ever had doubts that manifestation is real and had logical mind come in? Well, I think everybody has. Absolutely. I think everyone's had that. We've always lived by reason and logic. That's been the dominant mindset that many of us have. And especially like I went to school for engineering. I'm very logic mind, reason mind, practical minded. So 100%, I have been there. Thank you so much for your help. You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Yeah, I agree with John M. Doug Muffin. I would tell that logical mind to zip it, because that the voice of reason is only deceiving and tricking you. That's all it's doing. What can we do for self-esteem issues or about physical things? For example, short height. So, a a common practice that a lot of people use and have used with great success is, you know, imagine yourself in front of a mirror and imagine seeing yourself at the height that you desire to be. Imagine seeing yourself, or, actually put yourself physically in front of the mirror and try to visualize yourself as the person you want to be physically. Just get to seeing that in your mind's eye, practice with it. And it may take some practice. That's normal. But I would really just keep the focus and keep it fixed on seeing yourself and that goes for any physical change, by the way. Whatever it is, see the version of you that you desire to experience. Can limiting beliefs stem from circumstances? I'm living abroad in Spain and haven't had communication with my SP in 10 years. And I know circumstances don't matter, but I still find it difficult to help. Yes. Yeah. Limiting beliefs. Yeah. Typically stem from what we experienced and the most important time frame in our lives when it comes to the beliefs that have been conditioned. It's the first 7 years. So, going back to childhood, whatever we were taught, whatever we learned, whatever we experienced became a belief. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. But yeah, not to say that we can't form limiting belief or we can't form new beliefs after childhood, but in short, yes. Depending on the circumstance, depending on how it impacted our reaction to it, absolutely that will leave an impression, the subconscious impression. And enough of those impressions become a belief. Ooh, Nature Creep made a really good suggestion. I like this one. This may help some people in the comments. I make my own affirmation flashcards, double-sided, so I can have statement if self-concept and the relating of self-concept and the relating manifestations. I shuffle them and choose one because sometimes it can be hard to juggle lots at once. Yeah, no, I love that idea. Flashcards or even I know there's a lot of apps that you can download on your phone that come with affirmations, and they'll send you those. They'll ping you once a day or even a couple times a day and just send you different affirmations. So it's like you're always receiving these reminders. So 100% recommend that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the super chat. Thank you. You are beautiful. My cat is a hard worker, very much so. She is always busy getting into mischief. Hi, Missy. Can you talk about time travel? I was wondering when these questions were going to start coming in. In the sense that we can relocate to the past and relive the past physically, considering time is only an illusion. Yeah, so actually, I noticed in the last Q&A, there was a lot of people asking about reality shifting, dimensional shifting, and moving into different alternate, essentially they're states, but different realities. And there's an amazing lecture where Neville talks about it. I'm in the process of making a video talking about this and going more into depth about some of the experiences that I've had and just more about it in general, because I notice this is a topic that comes up a lot, and understandably so. It is fascinating. But there's a lecture, there's actually a few lectures that Neville talks about this. His hitting my microphone. And he referred to it as worlds within worlds. And this is honestly the best depiction I can, that I've ever heard, from my experience as well. It is a world within a world, and these are all worlds within worlds. And through practice, through a discipline of our mind, we can, in fact, move into another solidly real place that looks and feels and is just as quote unquote real as the physical space that we're in right now. But yeah, I'm making a video where I'm going to be going a lot more into that topic. I've made one already about quantum jumping, but this one's going to go a lot more in depth. I'm going to give a lot more stories. And again, like if I start now, I'll be on here for like another hour. But keep an eye out for that video and check out, I think one of the lectures where Neville talks about it is called something about the world is flooded with facts or something. I'll find it and link it on the description below for anybody who's interested in learning more about, quantum jumping, dimensional shifting, things like that. What kind of practices can we do to manifest long, healthy life for our beloved ones? Thank you, Miss Renee. Oh, that's sweet. That is super sweet. I made a video talking about manifesting for others. It was one of my older videos, so I may have to go back a ways. But definitely check out that video because I go very into depth about how to imagine for others, essentially, how to do this for other people. And in effect, I mean, there's many different ways that we can go about doing it. But, imagine, again, see it in your mind's eye. That person, whoever they are, telling you that they are healthy and they're feeling fantastic. Everything that implies that this person is living their best life. Another practice that we can another thing that we can do in practice is, again, if we want to be more general, because there might be many people that we want to manifest for, is something akin to the lullaby method, or just a general state of gratitude, a general state of blessings. So yeah, but check out the video that I made where I talk about manifesting for other people. Do you think being an addict would stop a person from being able to make the new reality stick? No. No, I do not think so. That sounds logical, but again, that is in and of itself a limiting belief. Is no movement in the 3D mean that you are purging or going through births before land / bridge of incidents? So no movement in 3D, first and foremost, it's important to always take on the assumption that there is always movement. There's always movement. Just because the physical senses don't pick it up in this moment does not mean that things are not moving. Period. Secondly, depending on, to answer the second part of the question, like, is it purging? Is it birds before land, bridge of incidents? It's all in how you're feeling. And it's all in how you're reacting. It's all in the inner conversations. What's playing out more often than not? How are you feeling more often than not? That is your guide. That is your gauge. That's how you will know. How do you sustain the wish fulfilled? Practice that feeling. Practice feeling that feeling as much and as often as possible. Because when you are saturating your mind with it and you impress it, that begins to take on form and shape on its own. The whole reason that we do these techniques is to tap into the feeling, because it's through the feeling that we move into that new state and move back into that new state and back to that new state until it becomes a subconscious habit, and that becomes the dominant state. And the dominant state is just the state that we return to, right? So if we're in a dominant state of, feeling unworthy, we may have moments where we feel good. We may have moments where we feel extremely worthy, but those moments are fleeting, because when you move into that state of feeling worthy or deserving, subconsciously your mind is going to want to move back to that old state. We're going to keep moving back to that old state because it's the familiar state. Even if it's something we don't want, even if it doesn't make us feel good, if it's what feels normal and comfortable to you, your mind's going to keep wanting to go back to that. So we practice this new feeling because that's how we form this new dominant state. Thank you, April. Thank you. I do try to break it down, because I know there's a lot of complexities. I know there's a lot of seemingly contradictions. I know how confusing, especially when there's so many people saying the same thing in 50 different ways. So I do try to keep it very short and sweet and to the point. I try. All right, I'm going to take maybe 2 or so more questions, and then I got to wrap this up. But I will be making this an ongoing thing for sure. Oh, fantastic, Nestor. What to do when the opposite shows up? Julia asks. A lot of people say take responsibility for it, but it starts to make me feel guilty and shame. Okay, so that's completely understandable. And I know that there are some people in this community that they can come off a bit harsh when they say, oh, well, you created that. You created that. And yeah, I get it. When we're new at this and we're already feeling pretty vulnerable, that can hurt. So it's the thing to understand. If you're feeling a lot of guilt and shame because of something that came up that was unintended and unwanted, is knowing that even though, yes, we did put that there, essentially, it did, because we are ultimately the source, we are the operant power, we didn't do it consciously. Obviously, like if something shows up that's unwanted, it's not that we didn't do that consciously. That was not intended. So instead of feeling guilt or shame, like have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for yourself, because you are learning, you are trying to better yourself. You are trying to better your experience as playing this role as a human, as you. And there's going to be some bumps and trips and falls along the way. That's normal. So I know a lot of us have the tendency to just beat ourselves up, but that's not serving anyone. That's not serving anyone, especially not you. So if something shows up that's unwanted, and yes, somebody on the internet says, oh, well, you created it, you got to own it, you got to, cop to it. I mean, they're not wrong, but that approach can be more harmful than good. So it's the way to look at it is, okay, I know I'm the operant power. I know ultimately I did create this, but it was not conscious. It was not intentional. So, knowing what I know about the law, though, I have the means and ways to change it. If I was the one that created it, I can ultimately uncreate it. Excuse me, I can uncreate it, right? So be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself. I know that's sometimes easier said than done, but this really is a journey. It really is a journey. So take care of yourself first and foremost. What is your impression on dreams? Does dreaming of your manifestation indicate your subconscious has been impressed? Actually, yeah, that is a if you start noticing that desire coming up in your dreams, if you start kind of seeing that scene play out in your dreams, that is a very, very good indication. Yes. Yes. Because dreams are essentially just are like a window that we're getting into the subconscious mind, right? So if we're dreaming good dreams in relation to what we desire and what we're trying to manifest, yeah, that is a fantastic indicator. Yeah. Yeah, that seed's likely planted for sure. Interested to know who you admire as a fellow manifesting YouTuber. I quite like Kim Velez, Abby Rushton, and Kimberly. No, those guys are all great. All great. And obviously, I think most of you know I love Kimberly. Like, I've done a couple lives with her. She's freaking amazing. She's hilarious, funny as hell. Love her to death. And she is spot on when it comes to the law. She knows her shit for sure. But yeah, everyone that you listed there is great. I mean, gosh, I'm drawing blanks right now, but there's a lot of good. Nicholas. Nicholas. Who else is that? Is that other person? Dylan James has great tapes. He's got some great advice. I mean, there's a lot. I'm drawing a whole lot of blanks right now, but there's a lot of good ones out there. It would be wonderful if you made a video on revising death of a loved one. You briefly talked about it in one of Q&As. A detailed one would be awesome. David, yeah, absolutely. And that one has been on my list for a while, but you're actually like the third or fourth person this week who's brought that up. So I absolutely will be filming that one soon because that is an important one. Just talking about the revision when it comes to death and just the whole death thing in and of itself. That's an incredibly important topic, and I think it's going to be one that I hope and intend is very healing and cathartic for people. That's coming too. All right. Mike C. Do I 100% have to forget about the old memory with revision because it's kind of tough? So no, you don't have to completely wipe it from your memory banks. No. No. I mean, there's a lot of revised memories that I have that I still recall that old memory. I still recall that old story. I'm just not attached to it. I'm not attached to it. Like if I think about it, I can bring it up. But I mean, the go-to memory is the revised memory. But yeah, some of them are not completely wiped from my memory banks. It's just I have no attachment to it anymore. It feels like some other distant reality that I never visited. May I suggest that one day you do a dropping the seed guided meditation? Ooh, I like that. I like that. Great suggestion, one. I like that. Can we permanently stay in that other world? Yeah. Yeah, if you so choose. Absolutely. I think the longest that I was in another, God, there was a time it was, I want to say it was 4 or 5 months was the longest I spent. But if you wanted to stay there, yeah. Do you agree with Joseph Ally's teachings? About 95 to 99% of them, yeah. Joseph Ally is pretty spot on. Oh, you guys are fantastic. I'm loving this. How to completely quantum jump into a reality where the current 3D is all legal hassles. When imagining the wish fulfilled or sustaining it just seems impossible. Yeah, no, so I'm literally going to start filming that video talking about the worlds within worlds. I'm going to be doing that probably over this weekend. So I'd expect that video to be out sometime next week or next weekend at the latest. And I'm going to make this a detailed one because, again, this is a lot of questions come up when I do these lives. I know it's a topic that is incredibly fascinating, of course. So I'm going to be doing all sorts of deep diving into there. It's probably going to be a longer video, just heads up. But yeah. Yeah. Tom Karen, yeah, Be Something Wonderful is an amazing channel. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of really good YouTubers out there for sure. But I will say though, I can understand for people that are new at this, people who are just coming into this now with so many new channels and the law of assumptions really taking off and grown in popularity in the last couple of years especially. And it's wonderful, it's fantastic, but the amount of stuff out there has got to be so overwhelming. Because when I started to really get into Neville back in 2015 or 16, there was no YouTube teachers, there was no Reddit group, or there was no subreddit for Neville. If you wanted to learn about him, you went to Neville's lectures. You had to go to the source. So, while on the one hand it's amazing to see, I love that this is catching on. I do I can only imagine how it's got to be so overwhelming sometimes. Is your shifting video or quantum jumping going to guide us on how to do it? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. I'm going to give you at least, step by step what I've done, my process, essentially. But yeah. Yes, don't forget to like the video. Yes. Yeah, don't forget to give this one a thumbs up, you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, and really quick shameless plug while I have people here. So I've got my workshops up and available for purchase now on my website. I'm going to leave the link down in the description below. And for this weekend, because it's Easter weekend, I've got a 20% off coupon for any of those. So I've got 9 workshops, all in a different, topic of manifestation, going deep dive into each of them. Tons of resources available. So definitely check that out. Take advantage of that coupon. Get your learning cap on, guys. And on that note, I will take one more question. I know I said I would take 2 more, and that was like 15 questions ago. I could sit here all day with y'all. Seriously. If I could, I would be here all day. Happy Easter to you too. What would be a daily inner conversation when you are manifesting money? As we automatically go for cheaper option when we buy stuff. So, some things that you can play around with is, what would you be talking about with your wealth manager, right? What would you be thinking about doing if you had all the money in the world right now? Would you be planning to travel? Would you be planning on creating a nonprofit, getting into philanthropy? Would you be, helping somebody out? So start thinking from that premise. Always start with the question, what would it be like? What would it be like? And just start playing with that. And imagine different scenarios. Imagine different, encounters that you would be having throughout the day. And coming from that premise, right? And just doing that, you'll start to notice that your conversations are more and more coming from that state versus the state of poverty or lack. Okay, guys. Much love, much love, much love. Okay. Tithing is a great wealth building tool. Yes. Yeah, it is. You know, I found that the more I was giving, the more I was getting. And it really helped me tap into that feeling of limitless. All right. Last question, guys, for real. Is revision kind of shifting reality slash timelines? Yeah. Yeah. So are sats. So are imaginal acts. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know a lot of you are looking forward to that video. I will be filming it this weekend. So keep an eye out for it. I'm going to talk about the worlds within worlds and all of that fun sci-fi stuff that you guys are really, I love that you're into it. I wanted to make this video for a while, but I didn't want to, turn some people off or push them away because on paper it sounds ridiculous. It sounds completely sci-fi, but you all seem to be really digging it, and I get a lot of questions about it, so that makes me happy. All right, guys. All right. I really do need to get back to it. I will be I do want to make this more of a regular thing. Like I love coming on here. I love talking to y'all. Y'all have great questions. It is awesome. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And wherever in the world you are, like seriously, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Happy Easter. Much love to all of you. Thank you again so much. And if I didn't get to your question, guys, I'm so sorry. There's a lot of questions. I'm trying to get as many of them as I can. But again, I will be doing this more frequently going forward. So there will be a chance for me to answer your question. So yeah, and definitely take a look down in the description. I have my links to my workshops, my programs, and this weekend you get a discount. A ton of great reading material, guided meditations, subliminals, all sorts of tools to help you on your journey. Again, thank you so much for being here. Y'all are awesome. Much, much, much love. Much love. Bye, guys.